everybody's assessment went up. That's what revaluation is for, because the assessments prior to revaluation were only at 62% of market value. That's called the equalization rate, and therefore, and state law requires that taxation be based on 100% of market value. That's why there are regular revaluations that are required by tax boards. So what this process did is this company of professional appraisals are establishing the valuation, the assessed valuation, as equal to the market valuation, which is 100%. There's always room for a little bit of, I think, a little bit of negotiation and figuring out what can happen, but they're not going to go up above that amount. Above the amount that the company has already established. They may go down a little bit. And what I ask folks to remember is that the issue is if your property has doubled in the assessment, your taxes haven't been doubled. The rate comes down. And so roughly speaking, the way we work in it now, the tax rate in Pemberton Township is roughly $3.55 or 56 cents, something like that right now. If the preliminary numbers that they have, the tentative numbers that they have, stay the same, the tax rate will end up being very close to $2 instead of $3.56. So the assessment may go up a great deal, but the rate goes down, and the rate is the amount of taxes based on each $100 of assessed valuation. So.
And just to cover one thing, I've heard some things and refresh my memory, Dennis. This was state mandated down to the county, if I remember right. And then the other thing was we had to have a company do these reassessments that were certified and approved by the state. And I believe there was like only 6 or 7 companies in the entire state that could do that.
I do believe that there are a limited number of companies in the state that actually do this.
Right.
I don't know whether it's 6 or 7, 5, or you're around the right number.
It's a low number.
The mandate comes for the entity that has the statutory authority to require this is the county tax board. The county tax board is appointed by the freeholders. I forget whether there's an individual appointed by the state. There may be. I don't recall. But so it's a county tax board, but it's subject to state law that requires the revaluations to be done when the equalization rate falls to a certain number.
Right. The thing I'm getting is I've had a couple people call me, and it's like, well, these people weren't qualified to evaluate nothing. They're way off. They don't know. And the point I'm trying to say is these folks are certified, and they do know what they're doing. There's only a few in the state that are approved to do it.
That is correct. They are professionals, and not only would we not pick a company that is not certified and qualified to do it, the contracts themselves have to be approved by the county tax board and the state of New Jersey to ensure that the professionals that we hire are qualified to do it. Otherwise, we couldn't have started in the first place.
I've actually heard that same comment that these people weren't qualified. They've now assessed my house at $217,000. I could never get that for it. It was only, like $112,000. Now they almost doubled it, but they're missing the point. Their house, the last reval they had, put their house at 112, but that's not what they were being taxed on. The adjusted rate is what they were being taxed on, and that brings their market value up to what it was, what they were really being taxed on. So it might have been like 170 or so. But the true market rate today is as good as we can get it with the company we have. It's as close as you're going to get it.
My house got evaluated. I had an idea of what the value was going to be coming in at, and it came in on the high side, but it still came in within that two numbers I figured on. And to be honest, My taxes went up $10 a year. So I guess I was one of the lucky ones.
When was the last time it was done? I mean, you were here.
Oh, I'd say, I want to say
More than 20 years ago.
15, 20 years ago?
It was more than 17 because it's never been while I've lived in town.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm referring to my counsel over here, my wife, who remembers the last time we had it done in our former home, and that was in the 80s, back in the 80s.
I bought my house in 96 and it hasn't changed since then.
Yeah, so
20 years.
You know, we've been dodging it. The county's been kind of hinting to us ever since I got into office, you have to do this, and I kept putting it off and telling them and pleading with them, the market is just not right. There's no reason to do a reval when the market was as terrible as it was, and you're only going to have to do one again because they're out of whack. They're just not right. So they've realized it, but they're catching up to everybody now.
Council?
You want me to start it off like normal?
Sure.
Two questions. It's really easy. I was over at the Veterans Advisory Committee yesterday over at the library. The room looks nice. We have a desk and a couple chairs. It gets really cozy. It is a small room, so it gets pretty tight. But there was questions. I guess the committee was told that there was going to be a telephone put in there.
Yes.
There is a telephone, but when I picked it up,
There's no line,
yeah.
an extra line. We're waiting.
they couldn't hear me.
Yeah, we're waiting on the extra line to be brought into the center. That was being worked on, and I got a text on it last week while I was away. They are working on it.
And
I'll follow up on that. But the room, just keep in mind, the room is not intended for their meetings. The idea was that they would reserve the meeting room in the library on a regular basis so they can hold their meetings in the larger room and then have the office to do business in.
we're just lucky we're out of the rain. You know, we're all veterans.
Yeah. But you were Air Force, Jack. You were always out of the rain.
5-star hotels. The other thing, I guess they were told they were going to get a computer, and there's no computer there yet.
There
either.
is not, and there is a computer coming. We have new ones coming, and there will be one brought into there. They may not get the new one. They may get one that is being taken offline, but there is a computer scheduled there.
You know, I heard a joke saw it on with the military. No, it was military. You know, they're in touch with the stars and stuff. Army and Marines sleep under them. Navy navigates by them, and Air Force judges our hotels by them. So the last question is, if you remember in the springtime, I was kind of asking about the scrap cars back in the back, and they did, I guess, get sold out for scrap. Will that be put into the general fund, and when will that be done, and when will we know how much that was?
Every time we receive money that is not by law or regulation earmarked for a specific purpose, and there are very, very few of those, and if it's unanticipated, it just comes in as general revenue. It automatically goes on the revenue side. It doesn't have to show up. It just shows up as unanticipated revenue received.
So it doesn't come through the council or nothing?
No, it just comes into our general ledger, and the money comes into our general account, and then it's reflected there, and then it's reflected as unanticipated revenue in the annual financial statement.
Is there any way, I'm kind of curious to see what we got for the cars. Is there any way we can get that number sent to us?
Yeah, I can find out what we got for the scrap. Yeah.
Okay.
And it was not only the cars, but there were some other scrap items that we put in there, but I'll get it.
Okay. That's it?
Jackson?
Yes, Mayor, soccer fields in Lake Valley with that grant money, do we have an update on that?
We are, I believe, at Pinelands for an informal. Is that correct, Dennis? You recall where we're at with that? The West End
West End.
Park? Yeah. And we're looking to submit formal application to the Pinelands after informal meetings to get a temperature from the Pinelands as to what we're proposing to do, and make sure that we're not going to submit a final plan to them and then have to go back to the drawing board. So it's my understanding that they've had meetings, and they may have already had them, or they're scheduled before the end of the year.
Okay, that's pretty much all I had. I did speak to Norma, and she is doing better. She did want me to send her love to everybody and thank everybody for their prayers, and hopefully, prayerfully, she'll be back very, very soon. And that's all I had. Thank everybody for coming, and see everyone at the next meeting.
I have no comments.
Mr. Cartier?
I have no comments.
Mr. Cartier?
I have no comments.
Just a quick update. I did attend the Winter Festival on December 3rd. For anyone that has not been in the past, it's a very pleasant event. This year, very well attended, my impression anyway. I saw a few council members there. Mr. Cartier was on the grill cooking hot dogs and hamburgers for people. Just an all-around good event. The township partnered with High Octane of South Jersey and managed to receive a little more than 3,000 gifts that will be distributed to children and families throughout the township. So just an all-around great event. The DJ was good. The games, I think everyone had an enjoyable time. So, Mayor, there's your update. That being said, pardon me? Oh, absolutely. Paula does Paula and whoever else helps, they do a great job. That being said, I'd like to thank everyone for sticking through the entire meeting, and I look forward to seeing you at the next meeting. If not, have a Merry Christmas. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.